In this tutorial, we'll have a look at how the depth of field works in After Effects. Depth of field in real life is the field in which the objects appear to be in focus. And this phenomenon can be recreated in After Effects quite easily. Now, in order to activate the depth of field, you need to first have a camera. That's exactly what I created here. I created a normal one-node camera. And in order to activate the depth of field, all you need to do is to either double-click on the camera, that will take you back into the settings of the camera, and there's a button here that says Enable Depth of Field. Or I can cancel this and then go inside the camera by clicking on this triangle, and then go to Camera Options, and there's the same option here, Depth of Field. It's turned off now. So let me go ahead and turn this on. Now, as soon as we do this, what's going to happen is that After Effects is going to create one more line here. This is the end of the camera, you can see. And we can't see that line because the two lines are on top of each other. But that line is now called the focus distance. And I can change it from here if I click and drag this around. You see the second line starts separating itself from the rest. And this is the plane that the camera is going to focus on. For example, if I want my camera to focus on the word with, which is this one, I can increase the focus distance until this plane here lines up with the word with. So let me just go and increase this a little more. Here. So now that this plane lines up with the word with, I can now go and tweak the settings here for the aperture and the blur level. In a real camera, aperture is the system inside the lens that controls how much light is received by the film or the chip. It's basically a hole inside the lens, and the wider the hole, the blurrier the results will be. So if I just go and increase the aperture here, the scene is going to get blurrier and blurrier and blurrier. You'll start seeing now that the word here, learn, is blurrier than the rest. And I can keep increasing this. And if this is not quite enough, I can then come down to here where it says blur level and increase this as well. And you see this will make the things that were already blurry even more blurry. You see only the word with is in focus. And if I move my focus distance, let's say on top of the words After Effects here, so I can go to focus distance and then drag it left with the shift key so it goes faster. Now the focus is on the words After Effects. And everything else in the active camera appears to be blurry. Now instead of animating the focus distance, I can animate the position of the camera. So if I go up a little bit here, and then select the camera, transform, position Z, I can now push this in and out. You see as I push this towards left, so the camera goes back in the Z space. Let me just go a little more maybe. The focus distance eventually is going to fall on this word, learn. And if I animate this, I can keyframe the position of course. I can push this towards right. You see the words After Effects are going to be in focus now. And I can wait there for a bit and then maybe keyframe again to make the word with get in focus. And all the while I'm checking this plane because this is the plane that's going to be in focus. Let me just bring this towards here a little bit. And then eventually I can keep pushing this on the Z until we get onto the word digidemi. Like that. The focus now is on the word digidemi only. And everything else, as you can see here, is going to get blurry. Let's go and actually animate this. Let me go back to the beginning. And I'll push the camera back as well. Like that. And I'm just going to move here as well so we can see what's happening a little better. Let's see when this happens. So the word learn comes up first. And I want the camera to be focused on that already. So I'm going to go to my focus distance. And just set this to be on the word learn. There. And let's just allow that word to pop up. Once that word pops up, I'll go and animate the position of the camera. I'll then go forward. When the word After Effects pops up, I'll then push the camera in towards After Effects. And you see now these are the words that are in focus and learn is out of focus. Let me just play this. So at this point, the word learn is sharp. Then After Effects gets sharp. And then I'll move forward and wait for the word with to come up. Then I'll move this way. And then I'll just push this further towards left. So the focal plane is now on the word with. And then I'll go forward again. When the word digidemi comes up, I'll then push this one towards left a little bit more. And then just push this towards left even more. So the focus is now on digidemi. So if you now play this, let's see what happens. Now the animation I think is a little bit too abrupt. So I'll select all these keyframes and then press F9. So that creates the easy ease. So learn goes blurry, then After Effects gets sharp, then that goes blurry and the word with gets sharp, and then that word will go blurry, and eventually the word digidemi is going to get sharp, or in focus I should say. And that's looking great. But the final thing I want to do is to actually zoom into the word digidemi when the camera is at its final position. So let me just go and deselect these keyframes, and then I'll collapse the camera's transform settings. I'll then go to zoom, so I'll keyframe this so it records the value here, and I'll then push this towards left. And then I'm going to go and zoom in a little bit more. You see it's doing this without changing the focal length. So the focal plane is still staying here. I'm just zooming in. And I'll just go a little more. And I'll move both of these keyframes towards left so that this last keyframe lines up with the last keyframe of the camera's position. Here. And if I play this again, you see that the camera is going to start zooming in from this point until this point. And this last point is when the camera stops anyway. So we should be landing on a perfect frame. So let's play this. There we go. Finally, I'll select these two keyframes and press F9 to make them easy as well. So let's play again. And as a final touch, I'll just go and lower the light down so we have longer shadows, and that will be the last thing that we'll do for this scene. So let me just zoom out until I see the light. Light's here. I can't select it now because it's locked, so let me just collapse the camera, unlock the light, and then select it, and then drag it down. And now I can see the longer shadows here. And finally, I'll just go and double click on the light, and then increase the shadow diffusion from 0 to something higher, let's say like 200, 300, so that the shadow is softer around about here. Just note that this is going to take a lot longer to render than it would do without the shadow diffusion. So I'm going to go hit OK, and then go back to the beginning, and then play it. And you see this is taking much longer now than it did before. But with the help of depth of field, together with the diffuse shadows, it's looking much better.